Hello, my name is Richard Grannon. Today we're going to be talking about CPTSD. What is CPTSD? Now, I know it sounds complex, it has the word complex right in the title, but I'm going to help you to make complex PTSD very, very simple, very, very quickly. If you have a good understanding of how CPTSD works, which you will do by the end of this video, you can get a better grasp of any mental health or emotional issues that have been pestering you for a while. And we can get you on a structured pathway to healing and diminishing the symptoms of CPTSD, leaving you freer and happier to get on with your life and to thrive. If you struggle with motivation or getting your life together, then I have some solutions for you that I'll describe in the next 10 minutes that you will not have heard before. In this video, I'm going to give you a new way of thinking about mental health issues that should make things a lot clearer for you and put the power back in your hands. So just what is PTSD? Very simply, PTSD is an umbrella term for a whole range of symptoms that stem from being hurt or disappointed in life. In the mental health world, this is called trauma. Now, I don't know about you, but I never felt very comfortable with the idea that I was traumatized. It sounds extreme, melodramatic, and a bit cold and clinical. So we can use the term hurt, or stressed, or whatever works for you. Now let's compare CPTSD to classic PTSD. In the classic PTSD that everyone knows from books and from films, someone experiences a very traumatic and intense event or series of singular events that have an observable cause and an observable effect. A typical example that we would all be aware of is the combat veteran who sees a comrade get hurt in a firefight. If they came under fire whilst in a vehicle, then thereafter, every time the person with PTSD hears an engine start or smells the smell of a particular type of fuel, if they see the vehicle they were in at the time, perhaps on TV, or actually they just tried driving to the supermarket to get some milk, they would be receiving the same stimulus as that root event of the firefight where their comrade got hurt. They could be triggered by the stimulus into a response that would mirror the physical and emotional experience they had had on the day of the root event. Hyperadrenalized, sweating, breathing frantically, having numb lips, shaky hands, and emotionally feeling deep dread, anxiety, and perhaps even rage. This would be called a flashback. The person's body and mind and emotions will flash suddenly backwards through time into the past to the root event whilst doing something as innocuous as driving to the supermarket to get some milk. In summary, and I'm painting with very broad brushstrokes here to make this simple, PTSD is 1. A singular event or singular events in a clearly identifiable timeline. 2. These events can be recalled by the person as memories. 3. The trigger for a flashback would typically be something the person saw, something they heard, something they felt, something they smelled, or that they were doing at the time of the root event. 4. The flashback would typically involve a memory of the root event playing in the person's mind as they saw it. As they saw and heard what they heard on that day. 5. The flashback would manifest in the body as a physical response to flight or fight with a sudden release of adrenaline and strong emotions of terror and rage, and perhaps if they had felt helpless at the time or wished they had acted differently, even the extremely corrosive and damaging emotions of guilt and shame. Now, by comparison, the fascinating thing with CPTSD, the complex version of PTSD, is it tends to be accumulated over time by repeated exposure to many smaller events. Perhaps some so small that the person can't even quite remember what happened, or they were so young they don't remember it, as is the case in childhood trauma, or they were in an altered state of consciousness so they don't remember it, as can be the case for people trapped in cults, for political prisoners, or people trapped in emotionally abusive relationships as adults, or even people who've been heavily dependent on drugs and alcohol in their past. This is what makes it complex, in that it involves multiple hard-to-trace stimuli, also called triggers. A further level of complexity here is that the flashbacks are not memories as we would normally think of them. When you remember something, or if I say to you, the girl remembered her dog, you would probably construct an image in your mind of a person with a thought bubble over her head remembering her dog. Or you would have an image of someone projecting an image like a movie projector out of their head of their dog. Now, what did you think when I said to you, the girl remembered the dog? Typically, we think of memories as being like short films, short movies we run inside of our minds. There are some visuals, there are some sounds, and there are some feelings that go along with those visuals and those sounds. With CPTSD, the memory or flashback has no such video running along with it. There are no visuals, there is no sound. It is only feelings in the body. The person will get the adrenal response of feeling under threat and the emotions of terror, dread, rage, or shame, or guilt, but no video that lets them know where this is coming from. The end result is the person's experience is that they just feel very strong, loud, and violent surges of emotion that are not pleasant with no real reason for it. Now, these surges of emotion can happen several times a day and can last from 10 seconds to whole days at a time, sometimes with multiple strong emotions breaking through. They then come to the conclusion that there must be something wrong with them, or that they must be mad. They also end up concluding that emotions themselves are bad. Why? Because their strong mood swings, called emotional dysregulation, are ruining their lives. They make them addicted, vulnerable, cranky, angry, sad, and volatile in their interpersonal relationships. Making friends and keeping them can be very hard. Getting a job and keeping it can be torturous. Even going to the shop can create huge levels of anxiety and dread. I know because I spent my teens and early 20s in exactly this state. To sum up CPTSD in comparison to classic PTSD, we have, number 1, multiple root events that created the hurt. Number 2, these events are not recalled as typical video-style memories. Number 3, the trigger for the flashback may be something saw or heard, or it may simply be the context that the person finds themselves in. Or it can also be an internal part of the person that is now sending trigger-inducing negative messages that show up as very nasty, internal, self-critical thinking. Number 4, the flashback is only the emotion and the somatic state in the body. Number 5, in comparison to PTSD, the flashback is only the emotion. And that's why it's called an emotional flashback. That's the difference between CPTSD and PTSD. Does this resonate with your experience? Do you ever find yourself swinging through multiple emotions during a day? Do you ever feel extremely lazy or unmotivated? Do you find yourself feeling angry, sad, depressed, ashamed for no reason whatsoever? Do you find it hard to do normal things that everyone else seems to find easy? Let me know in the comments if this is you. And be sure to check out these other videos about CPTSD if you like this one. And if you like, you can get this PDF, which is free, which helps you to reduce your CPTSD symptoms today. Thank you for your time and your attention. If you want to hit the subscribe button now, I'll look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thank you.